It's the best of the Ron and Fez show right now on 106.7 WJFK.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to give it up. Give up the love for Detroit's unsung musical heroes. The drum section. Uriel Jones and Pistol Allen. And the late Benny Benjamin. On the vibes and percussion, the fabulous tambourine man, Jack Ashford. And the late Bungo Eddie. Guitar section, the one, none other, the brother, Eddie Willis, Joe Messina, and the late Robert White. On the keyboards, Joe Hunter, Johnny Griffin, and the late, great Earl Van Dyke. And on bass, Bob Babbitt, and the greatest bass player of all time, James Jamerson. Here they are, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest hit machine in music history.
We're Ron and Fez, and the Funk Brothers are in the studio with us.
What a pleasure to have you guys here tonight.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the movie, congratulations on the CD, and congratulations on the tour. The fabulous Funk Brothers. You guys played on all the Motown hits.
90-some%.
90-some%.
98%.
98% of it.
They cut out in California.
Now tell everybody exactly how the Funk Brothers came together. Were you a unit at first, or were you all kind of hired separately in the studio?
We didn't come in as a unit. We come in as individuals at different times. All of us come in at different times. And just after we was there so long, after we formed the Motown sound, then the Funk Brothers name comes, bled in. One of the guys, Benny Benjamin, he named us. He said, we was leaving the studio on time. He said, you guys are some funky guys, musicians. And then later on, we was playing a club with, broadcasting with Martha Jean the Queen, every week. And so she kind of cleaned the name up. She calls it the Funk Brothers instead of the Funky Brothers.
Now, when you guys started playing in Detroit, you had been in Detroit long before Motown Studios started, right?
Now, I was born and raised in Detroit. Yeah, I worked around Detroit before I came to Motown.
But everybody came kind of out of a jazz background, right?
Oh, yeah, we was all jazz orientated.
Why is that? Why is it always seems like the best studio musicians have been trained in jazz more than rock and roll or anything else? Is it the ability to read or improvise, or what is it?
That was some of Jack. He could explain
all of that,
Hannibal,
It took all of those skills of improvisation and things like that to be able to see far ahead of what you're doing when you're playing those simple chords.
Right.
And this is adding an advantage, You could explore more.
Right. So if your preference as a musician would be to play jazz, or does it matter what type of music that you're playing?
It don't matter what
type.
Any time in your life.
It doesn't matter now, because I remember the time where most of the jazz musicians was around town. In fact, when Motown first started, a lot of jazz musicians was approached to work in the studio, and, jazz musicians, they were kind of kinky,
Right.
Kinky, like, no, man, I don't play that stuff. I'm a jazz musician, like this. So, but we went.
Right.
You see, and when it started paying off, then a lot of them guys that had turned down, they wanted in then, but it was too late for them. They couldn't get in, you see.
Right, because you guys were already unit, already known pretty much
at that time. Yeah, we would much rather play jazz than rock, but then after we was in it so long, I got the feeling now where I don't care wherever I'm playing, whatever person pat their foot to, I want to play it again or something like it again.
I understand.
Yeah.
We got three of the Funk Brothers in the studio tonight from Standing in the Shadows of Motown. We have Joe Hunter in the studio, Uriel Jones, and, of course, Jack Ashford is with us tonight.
Now, we had the opportunity to see the movie. You guys, of course, played on all these hits, and not well known by those of us who loved the Motown records. Did that kind of bother you at the time, that nobody knew what each of you were doing, or was it just part of the gig, part of the job?
It was just part of the job. I mean, we were so busy cutting records and playing and enjoying one another until we didn't even think about names not being on records. We really didn't. And we don't think about it today that it didn't happen then, because it's retrospect, and it happened so many years ago. We too engrossed in what's happening now.
Right.
We're so glad to see your smiling face. So we're just rolling with it now, you know.
We're smiling huge today, the Apollo.
At one time, you know, the only time you get in a limousine when you're going to a funeral. Now I'm getting in a limousine, I'm going to lunch. That's just great.
Good for you, Jack. You deserve.
When you sat back and watched the movie, did it bring back a lot of memories, or do you guys think, you know, there's still a lot of stuff for you guys to be doing now, as the Funk Brothers?
It brings back tons of memories. I mean, you know, down in the Snake Pit, man, we had so many different memories, so many things. And then it you know, like even some of the artists that, you know, have sung with us, that, you know, we had talked to, a lot of times when you talk to them, it just takes you back to a certain period of time. It's just like, you know, we think about different things now when we hear Motown tune. A lot of times that particular tune take us back in the studio. A lot of things was going on in the studio then, you know.
How about the performers? Was there any one performer that you guys like to work with, or would it matter to you?
In the studio?
In the studio, was it? I know you guys almost kind of saw Stevie Wonder grow up right in front of you, right? He was just a boy when he came in. How old?
Yeah. Well, we didn't get an opportunity to see that many artists when we recorded.
Right.
Once in a while, someone would come by, you know, if they were in town. But if you wanted to know which artists that we recorded with that we seemed to click with, it would be the older ones, like Marvin, the Four Tops, and acts like that. Well, they were around our ages, and so we had more in common. And then we worked the club scene with these same people, you know. And Earl and I went on the road with Marvin Gaye. So naturally, we had a close relationship with him. But when you see the live show, we have a treat for you, a story of Marvin Gaye's story. I don't want to reveal it yet because then the people won't come. I'm going to tell you a story about Marvin Gaye to show you why we were tight with him. He was really a brilliant person.
Right. Yeah.
And so as an artist, he was one that we bonded with.
Now, with a lot of the artists, though, you guys just laid down the tracks and you didn't even know who would be singing later on, right?
A lot of times we didn't.
Would it surprise you when you finally heard it on the radio? Would you go, oh?
We didn't care that much. I mean, we were looking at the next gig. We worked 7 days a week in the clubs and the studio. It didn't leave much time for thinking about what happened to it when we got finished with it. We would hear it on the air. We'd be happy.
As you went on, did you start finding yourself maybe putting things together with certain artists in mind, like Marvin? Did you play favorites?
Oh, there's a lot of times when... there's a lot of times we knew who the artist was.
Okay.
You know, like stuff like Marvin stuff, the Temptations stuff, we always knew what that was. You know, all the artists that was really on top, we knew what they were. And then once the artist get a big hit out, for a while, he'd stay right in that same vein, you know. So when he come in the studio, we just about know what they want. Laid down, you know, because we're going to want to be similar to what they just did. That was a big hit. You know.
Was there anything that ever shocked you becoming a big hit? You know, you laid the music down, you thought, well, this might not fly, but it actually became a huge hit.
When we did the Contours, Do You Love Me, I said, that ain't gonna be no hit. But I was wrong. I was very much wrong.
Well, you can admit it now, Joe. That's good.
So, Joe, you...
Not only that, he said it was crazy.
Come on, Joe, I got a 10 ear and I can tell this is a hit.
Just got his hands up there.
I can really shake it down.
It sounded so ridiculous then to Joe.
Joe, how about for you? Was there anybody that you preferred, any of the artists that you preferred, or
Well, I have to go along with the guy that did Marvin.
Yeah, it's always Marvin.
Was the man, really, to me. You know, more so than any other individual singer. Marvin was talented.
Right.
Played drums, piano, and sang like hell.
Now, a lot of the Funk Brothers played on What's Going On as well, right? That album, of course, still in most people's top 10 albums of all time. And, we talked some about this. I guess Motown was the only real American music that was standing up to the British invasion music at the time, too, right? Mm-hmm. Did you guys feel in competition with that? I know most of the English bands really, really admired the Motown sound.
We did too much feeling in competition, especially when we first went over there. Jack and I, and Earl and Kevin Winston, we were the pioneers to go over there. We went there before the Motown Review, with Motown sent us over there. But when we got there, we realized that the musicians over there knew everything about us.
Right.
They had a fan club over there, for the bass player, and they looked like they knew more about the Motown musicians than the people in America did.
Mm-hmm. Now, Europe has always even been like that with jazz musicians as well, too, right? It seems like a lot of jazz musicians will be treated like royalty in Europe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, here we take it for granted somewhat.
Yeah. Because over there, when we was over there, number one record was played maybe on average 4 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big hit. And we was over there, we heard our record playing, we didn't even know it was out.
When the movie is absolutely out of this world, Fez.
It's Standing in the Shadows of Motown. The soundtrack is in stores now.
These are the unsung heroes of the Motown era, Fezzy, who are now being honored in this beautiful new movie that's out. Here's Augie. Augie, you're on Run of Fez.
Hey, Augie.
Funk buddies.
How you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm digging this. This is the best. I have a question and a memory. The memory is when the Motown Review toured around. I grew up in Ohio. Whoever had the biggest record on the charts at the time was the headliner. So one time they'd come through and the Miracles would be with headline. Next time they'd come through, Marvin Gaye. And when Marvin Gaye came on stage, he'd get like a running start from in the curtains backstage and come flying out into a splits and just drove everybody insane. Oh, man, he was unbelievable. And the question I have is, were any of the Funk Brothers on Fingertips 1 and 2, Stevie Wonder's first hit?
All right, thank you very much, Augie.
I think, Joe, were you on that?
No, that was Pistol, wasn't it?
No, that was on the road with. At that time, they had a road band because the musicians weren't going out on the road. They were doing most of the studio work. So that was Choker Camel's road band.
That would play on that.
Yeah, and the road band played that.
Now, Stevie hung around as a really young boy, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
you couldn't get rid of him.
And it was like, oh, this is cute, this young kid's hanging around here, and then next thing you know, his skills start to grow and grow, right?
Yeah, with Joe, Joe Hunter had a lot to do with that.
Joe, you kept an eye on him as a young man?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I started off with Benny Benjamin, Papacita, and next came Jameson, and I left early. I was the one left earlier than anybody. I had my reasons for leaving.
About what year did you leave?
I left around about the middle of 1963. I started in 58 and ended up in 63 and went on the road with another group.
Did any of you guys ever think to yourself, hey, we ought to go out as a band, we ought to, form as a band? Or it was, I guess it was somewhat of a nice lifestyle to be able to stay in one place and be a musician, right?
Well, we did. Mm-hmm. We performed nightclubs.
Right.
But as far as going on the road as a band, a Motown artist, that was like out of the question. Motown wasn't going to let us on the road.
What was it like to work for Berry Gordy in those days? I mean, he's kind of a legendary figure now. But I guess at the time he was a young man who just had an idea.
Yeah, we was all the same age. Like I was raised up in the same neighborhood of Berry. But Joe Hunter know more about the first part of it because Joe was the first one there.
You were the first, Jeff.
Yeah, with Barry.
Yeah, me and Benny was the first. And it was very enjoyable. Barry had that charisma that would convince you that you are who you are. He said, Joe Hunter, he says, I'm making you my band leader. And I said, band leader? I've never been a band leader before. Anyway, it was beautiful anyway. And all I can say is that Barry's a nice cat. And he offered me a lot of opportunities, but I left the opportunities years ago. And I wouldn't, if I had to do it again, I'd probably do it the same way. As a few things I'd leave out.
A lot of things. Everybody wants.
You're a man of experience, my friend.
Yeah, my manager here, Al Slusky, could tell you more about this thing than me. I'm not much of a talker.
Well, you're doing all right, my friend.
Give me some earplugs, please.
Yeah, really. Producer and manager.
Are you the one who brought it all together as far as bringing the Funk Brothers back?
Yeah, well, in 1986, I started on this. I wrote a book that I started to write in 86 called Standing in the Shadows of Motown.
How did you become aware of what was happening?
Well, I had been playing their music since I was a kid, and I really didn't know who they were like everybody else. I just, as a musician, I just knew that the Motown band was incredible. And I stumbled across the story of James Jamerson in 1986 and decided to write a book about it. So 3 years later, I had won the Ralph J. Gleason Award from Rolling Stone for Book of the Year. And I guess I got a little swelled head and figured, hey, maybe there's a movie in this.
Right.
So I started chasing funding. And that took 11 years. And then finally we got funded in the year 2000 and shot the film. So it was a 16-year odyssey altogether.
Unbelievable. And you lost some of the players during the way. Some of the guys passed away between the time of the book coming out and the movie. Who's no longer with us?
Well, really, my two mentors, Earl Van Dyke was the reason I did it. He was the band leader after Joe. And if Earl had been in this film, you could have mailed home the Academy Award. He was that charismatic. He was just incredible. The other one was Robert White, who was the guitarist that played My Girl.
Right.
And if those two had been in the film, I can't imagine how great it would have been.
I still think you're going to get the Academy Award, my friend, because I'm going to tell you the truth. When we went down, 4 of us went down to see this, our jaws dropped, and no time at all. This thing had captured us, and like most of us, we grew up with this movie, with this music, as just part of the soundtrack to our lives, but had no idea of some of these great stories. We'll take some more calls. Here's Karen. Karen, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, Karen, you're on with the Funk Brothers.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Karen.
Hi, it's wonderful to hear this. It brings back so many memories, and I'm guilty of not even knowing the Funk Brothers, but I'm so enjoying this tonight, and I just wanted to let you know that. Keep up the good work, and look forward to everything you have going on there.
Well, you want to make sure you go out and see this movie. If you're a fan of Motown, you do not want to miss this movie.
I am a fan. I have to get my dance on.
All right, thanks a lot. Here is Tommy. Tommy, you're on the air. How you doing, pal?
Hey, Tommy, go ahead.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm a little nervous right now. About 13 years ago, I used to take bass lessons, and part of my, once a week, my teacher would come over. And aside from the basic scales and modes and theory, part of my lesson was to learn a James Jamerson bass line, a song a week. And what it did was it just completely introduced me to a whole area of the bass that I was so unfamiliar with. And I just want to thank Mr. Jamerson for his musicianship and his wonderful style. And congratulations on the movie, and the best of luck to all you guys.
Thank you.
Take care now.
The Funk Brothers are in the studio with us. They've played on more #1 records than the Beatles, the Beach Boys, the Rolling Stones, and Elvis combined.
Now, Alan, you were a music fan. Is that how you how you took it to the next step from just listening?
Well, no, I'm a professional musician.
Oh, you're a musician yourself, so you were able to listen to these records with a little different ear than the people who just love to dance to it or sing along with it, right?
Yeah, well, that's the funniest thing about what I had to do with the music, because, see, these guys cut. The incredible thing is they cut these hits in an hour. Nowadays they take 7 hours just to pick the right SM57 microphone for the kick drum.
Right.
So these guys were cutting songs like a masterpiece like Reach Out would be cut in an hour. And so here, years later, you know, they played these songs one time 40 years ago. They don't remember them.
Right.
So what I had to do for the movie was transcribe them note for note. And then, I mean, it smacks of arrogance. I got to go over to Eddie Willis, who's the guy that played it, and say, hey, man, this is what you played. And he goes, I played that? And then I got to teach the guy who played it, but they only played it one time.
Right.
And then they were on to the next record.
What we heard was, Earl, didn't you pick that up today when we were in the studio? Somebody said that when we were listening to the rehearsal.
Yeah, I think they were mentioning a song. They didn't mention it by name. They just mentioned it by a groove.
Right.
I forget which song it was.
Yeah, all right. Thanks a lot, Earl. Thanks for bailing me out.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for bailing me out, big man.
Earl, he's in a little bit of awe tonight.
He's in an awe, and he was... what was that?
I'm way in awe.
He can't even look at the Funk Brothers. He's so shy.
You know, one of the things that I think was interesting to me is to see that you guys had white players with you as well, that there were, and that everybody... I don't know what it is about maybe just sports and music, but it always seems to be the first place where people go, it doesn't matter what you look like or what your background is as long as you can play.
Well, you know why? Because musicians have a different kind of racism, which is built upon what you are and what your abilities are, not the color of your skin. Like, Benny used to do something when they would bring a new guy into the pit and a new musician, and he'd go, you know, they'd say, hey, Benny, this new guy is really hot, you know. And he just kind of sneer and go, well, can he swing? And if he could, you know, and if the guy could swing, then he was in. And that's the way the world should be, you know.
Right.
I mean, you're judged upon who you are, not the color of your skin. And that's the way these guys always were.
Maybe everybody in the world should be musicians and throw everybody else out.
Maybe that would work that way.
It'd be hard to get a gig then.
Here's
musicians and DJs.
Here's Lorraine. Lorraine, you're on Fez. Hey, Lorraine. Go ahead, Lorraine.
Oh, hi. What a great show. Thanks a lot, you guys. And I had a question for the Funk Brothers. I didn't realize there was a house band for all the Motown. How incredible. Thank you so much. And you were great. But my question is, what do you guys think about the state of R&B today?
What do you think of rhythm blues?
Rhythm and blues.
Yeah.
You must have heard my prayers. No, you know, I'm going to be very honest with you. You know, the biggest compliment that was paid to us was when guys like Puff Daddy and Master P and Dr. Dre and all of them started sampling the Motown sound, because they paid us a compliment and they took it a step further and made it into an art form, what it is today. So it also shows that the Motown sound, the music that we created, was interesting enough for them to get involved in it. And evidently it was strong enough for them to feel as though they could build a career on it. And so I thank these guys. And so they're fans of ours, obviously, because we help make them rich.
You made a lot of people rich, my friend, over the years.
Boy, it started out as such a nice compliment. It started out that way.
Here's Barry. Barry, you're on Fez.
Good evening, gentlemen. I was wondering if you guys played on any of the Jackson 5 records and what it was like working with those guys.
Some of them.
Yeah, the first album.
The first album you worked on?
Well, a lot of the artists that came in, it didn't matter who they were or what the song was going to be. You guys had a job to do.
That's right.
Was it all charted out in front of you at the time?
Sometimes.
And occasionally you just come up with your own licks to help out?
Every now and then they have a chart. Well, that's why we used to call ourselves the arrangers.
Right.
We come in there with lead sheets, you know, and we work on the song so long, just doing the same thing over. You may just decide to hit a little different lick in there, and they hurry up and say, oh, that sounds good. Keep that in there. So when you have about 10 or 12 different licks, then you got an arrangement. You know, and that's what they went with.
Alan, are you rolling this thing out city by city, or how's it going to be?
Yeah, it's a full nationwide release.
Oh, is it going to be that way?
Yeah, and then it'll also be distributed throughout Europe and the rest of the world.
What's the kind of feedback you're getting? I know you were in some film festivals already with it.
Well, that was when we really got a sense of what this film is, because the first one where we really got blown away was Toronto, which is the second biggest festival in the world. And we got an 8-minute standing ovation. 8 minutes is a long time to keep applauding. And we didn't know how to shut them up, so we took the guys out we snuck them out a side door into waiting limo, and they started chasing the limo down the street. So it was like the Fab Four or something. And people were coming up to us saying, that we've been to festivals for 30 years. We've never seen anybody react anyway to a film like this.
Right.
Because the way they're really taking this film, it's not like a movie, and it's sort of like a concert, but not even that. It's more like a religious experience. It's kind of like Field of Dreams.
Right.
It's if you build it, they will come. People are coming to worship at the shrine of the Motown sound.
I said it to the guys on our way back that there is, watching these guys play, there's something spiritual that seems to go on between them, and it's not expressed verbally, but there's just something about what they give off when they're playing. It's amazing.
Well, the big buzzword in today's pop culture is keeping it real, keeping it real. It doesn't get any more real than these guys. I mean, they can only be what they are. They represent a time in music when it wasn't about hype. It wasn't about image. I mean, it was about image. There's Joe. That ain't no image.
Poor Joe.
A very dapper man. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they're only about music. So it's the purest form of what people love.
Here's
Joe just gave out a thumbs down.
Here's Ben. Ben, you're on Run Fez. Say hi to Funk Brothers.
Hey, Ben.
It's a pleasure. Just wondering if there was any, ever kind of jealousy toward, the guys you were playing for, that they, not getting the credit and the recognition that you guys, definitely deserve.
As far as the artist?
Yeah, so as far as the artist. I know, you were close to Marvin Gaye, so I'm sure he gave you the, accolades you deserve, but, maybe some of the other artists or, just, not getting the, credits you deserve.
Well, we didn't get the credits, but as far as the artists, how they treated us, back then, we were older than most of the artists, so we was almost like bringing them up, And they used to always look up to us for different things. Like a lot of times you may find people follow the artists around. Well, the artists used to follow us around. Usually all the nightclubs that we worked in the city, we would always have a big crowd because people would know the artists, Motown artists would pop up in our club anywhere, even come in there and perform. So they treated us well because they looked up to us.
I understand, and they were looking to get experience themselves. Yeah. A lot of these guys come in, they were in their teens or their early 20s.
That's right.
And you guys, especially being musicians, you've seen the world.
Yeah, like Stevie,
Right.
We just raised him in the studio,
Here's Franz. Franz, you're on Ron Fez.
Hey, Franz, you're on with the Funk Brothers.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to say that I'm a huge fan of the Funk Brothers. You guys have inspired me. I'm also a musician. I'm a drummer. And Lorraine brought up a really great question about today's R&B. I have no inspiration in that particular music, and I have to buy old records from the Funk Brothers and Motown in order to get inspired. I just wanted to thank you guys.
Thank you.
For that.
Thank you. Glad you like it.
And that's the beauty, that stuff is always going to be around. The Motown stuff will always be around.
Funk Brothers in the studio today. Joe Hunter, Uriel Jones, and Jack Ashford's with us.
Also, people are writing us stuff on the instant feedback, and they're asking who else besides the Motown did you guys ever record with or play with? Whoa. People are asking about Jackie Wilson and then also some of the jazz greats. Did you guys get a chance to play?
All of the stuff that came out of Holland, Doge and Holland.
Is that right?
A lot of Stax material. Johnny Taylor, Who's Making Love.
Yeah.
Higher and Higher, Jackie Wilson.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom. Cool Jerk. It was like anything else. When you're hot, everybody comes to you to record. So we got an opportunity.
Sneaking doing that.
Oh, you had to sneak out away from Barry?
I think Steven Spielberg got his big start with Barry. No.